Good morning, everybody. Let's see if this is any louder today. Welcome back. October the 14th, 2025. The markets have started to come down a little bit. Everyone has gone from we are so back to we are so over. And I am here to tell you that none of those things are true. We've got a busy show because we've got some of yesterday's show left over. We've got leftovers. We're going to talk about the Black Swan event. The next Black Swan event for me, in my eyes. And we're also going to talk about buybacks. Baby got buybacks. And they are projects that I think generate enough revenue to actually have a serious buyback program. And this isn't new to crypto. This is something that goes on in the financial world. When stock prices come down, companies buy back their own stock, their own shares. So, porting some things over from traditional finance which work to crypto is never a bad idea. We're also going to go and look at whether this is a V-shaped recovery or not for Bitcoin and the market in general. We're going to look at whether this has been a clear winner for Tom Lee. He has bought an incredible amount of Ethereum over the last few days. We're going to look at the CME launch of Solana and XRP. What does that mean for the market? We're going to look at the $45 million Binance meme airdrop. I don't know how to describe it, but we're going to go through that as well. And then the topics that we're talking about. Now, tomorrow night is the big one. Wolfies is tomorrow night. It is going to be fun. We've written the questions. It's taken 4 hours for me to write these questions. There's only 25 questions, but finding 25 difficult questions about an NFT project is not easy. So the way this is going to work is we are on Binance Square and we are going to do giveaways on Binance Square. We're probably going to pick 5 or 6 user IDs on Binance Square to give tokens to. And then the rest of the prize pool we will be giving away on the other channel. Okay, we're only going to stream this on 2 places, Binance Square and somewhere else. The somewhere else, you know how this works. The top 3 will get a prize. And then we're going to do the Crypto Warehouse Wheel of Fortune for Wolfies for the very first time as well. So it's going to be fun. In theory, we could be looking at about 6 over there, 3 over there, 9. Probably 13 or 14 people are going to win tomorrow night. Okay, now you're not going to win the moon. The prize pool is about, I think, $100, $105, something like that. But it's a big prize pool. And we're excited to give it all to you. So we have made announcement after announcement. If you're on Binance Square, the Wolfies quiz is in our feed. So go and give us a follow on Binance Square and go and check out the Wolfies live stream reminder over there. Go and bookmark that. And if you're somewhere else, of course you're going to know where we are because you'll see it on your feed as well. So that's pretty much it. We're going to go straight into things because the markets have come down a little bit. Now, I know that a lot of you don't know the direction of Bitcoin from 1 minute to the next. And I know that crash that happened Friday night, Saturday morning, I know that caught everybody off guard. Fine. But the Oracle on Saturday night told you exactly what was going to happen. Kishan was there. Kishan knows. KB was there. Probably KB agreed at the same time. We were going to go to 116,000 and retrace. And miraculously, I have woken up this morning and we have gone to 115,800, 116,000 and we have retraced, okay? The Oracle streams charts. The Oracle tells you what is going on. If you don't watch him, that's on you, not on him. He is telling you week after week the direction of the market, and I don't agree with him a lot of the time, but guess who's right more than me? He is. So if you want the TA, if you want to know the price action of the likes of Syrup, or Mu or Sol or ETH or Bitcoin or XRP or World Liberty Finance, the Oracle is the one that looks in depth at the charts. Now, we are starting to share some of his charts on X as well, but he streams on Binance Square 3 times a week. Normally, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. This week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, because he had an interview last night with the very first In the Trenches interview was last night with an esports project. So we're going to be putting that live at some point, and we're probably going to do a live premiere of that interview on Binance Square, because we have said we're going to put them on Binance Square as well. So there's lots going on. So give us a follow. Now then, back to the price action. Bitcoin 112,000. Anyone would think we were at $50,000. Ethereum held on to that $4,000. It held on to that $4,000. Are we going to have a bounce today? I'm going to tell you in a minute. BNB put in, I believe, it put in a new all-time high yesterday at $1,380, something like that. Solana is back under $200, but I'm not too worried about that. It was sitting at $200 yesterday. It hasn't really moved. Good news for that. Hype. Okay. I'm going to buy Hype. Okay, I've said it. And yesterday, after the dip, I thought it's gone back above $40. I'm going to miss out. It's going to go up. I'm going to buy Hype at $39. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I do that after the stream. And I'm telling you now that I'm going to buy Hype. I'm not going to buy a massive bag of Hype because this is play money, remember. I might buy $300 or $400 of Hype just for the Hype. Chainlink below $20 is absolute robbery. Okay, that for me is one of the best projects in Web3. So keep an eye on that. Now we're going to look at the 24-hour gainers and losers. This will be a lot more red than green because yesterday everything was recovering. MYX Finance, which I will not probably look at ever on this channel, is up. Story, which we covered months ago, not going to look at that either. Celestia is an absolute waste of time. Do you remember when Celestia was at $20? And everybody was telling you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. This is the coin that's going to flip Ethereum. It's going to become the next challenger to Bitcoin. And what happened? I said, I don't know whether I like Celestia or not. I'm trading it because it's in a range. But I don't know whether I like it because it appears to be a farming blockchain where people buy Celestia to stake it, then go and farm coins. And as if by magic, I was right. This was $20. $20. It's $1.11. And it's up from yesterday, which meant it went below $1 probably, or it went to $1. Crazy. Gold is up. I'm expecting that to retrace. That's gone incredibly high. The second that gold retraces, Peter Schiff will go back into his coffin and stay there until the next full moon. Okay. What else is up? Not a lot. Now, this is where you're going to see some absolute slaughters. Asta is down at 136. Goodbye for me. Like that project. Mantle at 189. Great project. Pump.fun. I am buying Pump.fun. I have told you that. BNB is down there. It has run up an awful lot. Plasma is down there. Now, I want to point something out. 3 of those coins there are 3 of the coins that I think are going to bounce. I have said Asta, which I don't hold. I have said Pump.fun, which I have dollar cost averaged into. And I've said Plasma, the new stablecoin blockchain. All of those projects, to me, look good. Look good. ASI is down there at 34 cents. I cannot, for the life of me, understand this coin. I've got a bag of that. Morpho is down there. SPX, Pendle, there's a lot of losers down here today. Kronos is down to 16 cents. Ondo is down at 77 cents. That's a good buy as well. There's lots of coins down here, which I consider to be good prices to enter. Now, I know you're going to see people telling you that it's over, markets are finished, pack up and go home. It's like if you fall over and you scratch your knee while you're playing football and you fall over on concrete and you've got a bloody knee, you get up and you say to yourself, I am never playing football again. I'm never going to come in this park again and play football and scratch my knees and get blood everywhere. And then the following day, you're going to be there playing football in goals, okay? It's just a human reaction to pain, okay? And that pain came on Friday night and Saturday. And I didn't feel any of that pain because I'm on spot and I'm heavy in Bitcoin and I didn't really feel it. and my portfolio, I think, is only down about 10% from all-time highs. So I'm not feeling it. But I know a lot of people are. A lot of people are heavy on alts because they're going to run harder and faster than Bitcoin, and you're just waiting, and that's fine. But I didn't feel the pain because I have a conservative portfolio. Now, ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, says Dubai is now leading as the world's largest licensed virtual assets market. A completely new economic sector has been added to our national economy, and this is a solid move. When you have a territory that is vying for international recognition, international eyes, money, investment, whatever you want to call it, you can't be a one-trick pony. And there's many places around the world like this. If you could look at for Gibraltar, for example, which I know an awful lot about. Gibraltar was a finance centre, and you have insurance companies here, and you have gaming companies here, and they're always on the lookout for emerging technologies. And one of the things that Gibraltar is doing is it's building a 3 or a 1.3 billion pound AI data center, because they believe AI is going to be the future and they want to be one of the hubs. Small places and new places are very, very dynamic and very, very quick. And for me, this is a great, great move. How I see this working out is very simple. You're going to see multiple hubs. A European hub, hopefully in the UK. You're going to see a hub in Dubai. You're going to see a hub in the United States. You're going to see a hub in Asia. There will not be a single point of entry for VASPs, anything Web3, whatever it might be, because the market catches up, but they've got first leader advantage, so they will attract the companies first. But if you are, think of a company, if you are, trying to think of somebody that would do it, the thing called Gemini. If you're Gemini, you're not going to tie yourself down to Dubai or America. You're going to have Dubai, America, Singapore, or Hong Kong. You're going to have the UK. You might have Paris as well. Or you might not even bother with Paris. You might even have an African hub. So it's great, but don't think all of a sudden, because of this announcement, that every single Web3 project is going to go and live in Dubai. They'll have an office there. Of course they will, because they can move assets around. They can move people around. It's very tax lenient over there. They've got a lot of advantages. Some people don't like the heat. Don't forget that. Now, the ever knowledgeable Zithasis on crypto spot ETF approvals. The TLDR, ignore the October 19B4 deadlines. Read the whole thing, though. Now, I've read this, so you don't have to. And we know that you don't want to read things. And you just come on here to sit back, drink your coffee, put your feet up, say some mean things about Tariq, and off you go. Now, this is basically an explanation of all of the different paperwork that gets filed for ETFs. That's all it is. And it explains about the different stages of an ETF. It's quite long, and like I said, I've read it a few times. And the long and short of it is, the SEC rules have changed, where you now no longer need to do some things. But there are some things that you need to do. Government lockdown or shutdown in America delays all of these things, okay? So it will delay all ETF processing, ETF approvals. It will delay all of that. Now, the one key thing down here is this. Okay. That doesn't guarantee that they will launch Halloween after the 20-day period goes. Now, my hedge, my bet, was we were going to get an atom bomb dropped on us on the 28th and 29th of October. We have the Fed interest rate decisions, we have Trump with China, and we have the ETF approvals. And I've been saying for a long time it's going to be this week or next week. But really the 29th is when I thought it was going to happen. Now, this may, and he's put that, doesn't guarantee that they will launch. It doesn't guarantee, it doesn't say that they won't launch. He doesn't think that they are guaranteed to launch. Now, the key here is you look at some of the ones that they are talking about. It's going to happen. It's not an if, but when. And This is really bullish news. We're going to talk a little bit more about Solana and XRP in a minute, but it's really bullish news. And, you know, as I said on the Saturday stream, which I know a lot of you were there for, and you're living through history. You're in the middle of history, and not bland, unnoticeable history, okay? You're not living through vanilla history. You're living through the birth of an entire economic sector. And things like Friday night and Saturday, things like FTX, things like Celsius, things like Luna, they are all chapters in the book of the genesis of crypto. That's what it is. You're living through history. And in 10, 20, 30 years' time, I've said this to you before, people are going to look back and say to you, you managed to buy Bitcoin for $100,000. And you're going to sit there and go, uh-huh. Or in Tariq's case, I was buying Litecoin at $95 when it's at $45,000. And people are going to be like, that's incredible. What was it like? And then you can say, it was basically the Wild West. Everybody was collapsing. Everybody was starting different things. There was rug pulls everywhere. And it's like, I can't imagine what it was like. Excitement. That feeling you've got in your stomach is not fear, it's excitement. And these things that are about to go live is the next stage of the SEC's evolution for crypto, because crypto can't be seen in the same way that you look at stocks and shares and funds. So just enjoy it as best you can by not using leverage. Now then, sentiment, we cover this very infrequently because we've just got too much to talk about these days, but I still keep an eye on it. And this is development. Okay, so GitHub is a place where you update your projects, and this shows you the projects that are actively working. Doesn't mean they're going to be a success, but they're actively working. And at the top, you've got some of the coins that we talk about and we like an awful lot: ICP and Near Protocol. Now, the entire AI market is ready for the next stage, in my opinion. We haven't heard a lot about AI in a while. I'm now starting to see AI projects. Eliza is popping up a lot on my timeline, and things are starting to move in AI, so expect them to move. Filecoin is in there. That's really not done anything, but I think that could be a very slow mover. Oasis is up there. Oasis became part of ASI. I don't know what's going on there. LivePeer is there. Injective. So there's a lot of coins that maybe haven't run yet, but are building out to run. And maybe they're timing their announcements to be end of this month, beginning of next month, because believe you me, if I believed the end of the bull run was middle of November, I would time all of my news for the last week of October and the first 2 weeks of November. And that's probably where Polygon has failed the most in the last 3 years. All of their absolutely massive bullish partnerships were announced in June 2023, July 2023, in the bear market. That's when all of their exciting news came out, and it was just the wrong time. I know the partnerships have to be announced, but all of the partnerships came out at the wrong time. Now, Mantra. We cover this from time to time because I still have belief in this project. They are having the Agentic Summit in Abu Dhabi with Inventium.io and Cointelegraph. Think AI-driven trading, real-world assets, on-chain, compliant infrastructure, and more. Looking forward. Now, again, what this is likely to do is increase the value of Mantra. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go back to $8 a coin because it's now going to move over. They are doing a token exchange. They've got their own blockchain. They've moved all of over to that blockchain. They're going to sunset the Ethereum version of it. And they've got a DEX over there called Lotus. They're still doing work. I still follow them in the background. I just don't talk about them. I can't talk about them every day. But I'm still bullish on Mantra, the same way I'm bullish on Ondo, the same way I'm bullish on Maple. All of these projects do different things, but they're all coupled under real-world assets. It doesn't make it a bad coin because they had a liquidity crash. It doesn't make JP Mullen a bad person because the tokens dropped 95% outside of his control. Their project is the same project and on the same roadmap it has always been. If Man United lost 15 games on the trot, which is very likely the way they're playing at the minute, would I stop following them? No, I wouldn't, because they're probably one of the top 3-4 biggest clubs in the world. They've got the most fervent fans in the world. They've got enough money coming through the gates that will keep them going to get through the bad times and bring back the good times. Look at Liverpool. When Liverpool were terrible, everybody knew they would come back because they're a big club. Mantra is a big project. I've covered it maybe a year and a half ago. Okay? They're not going to run out of money because they've got an injection of, I think, $30 million. Just takes time. Maybe they've missed this bull run. Maybe the 2029, if these things do exist in 4 years' time, maybe they hit it in 2029. Now, Bitcoin shorts, Wales, and the next move is a V-shaped rebound in play. I was going to go through this article in great depth, and I was going to show the Bitcoin chart, but I don't know if we're going to have enough time. And I've completely ignored chat. Good morning to Kishan, I hope you are well. Manjeet, I hope you are well. Tariq, good morning. Bear is here. I hope you are well. Where is Koj? Koj was covered by CryptoFace. I think he was talking about it like 5 or 6 hours before it went up 450%. But I haven't looked at it. Key takeaways. 3% rebound. Might be more of a bear trap than a mark of real spot demand. Should traders load shorts? With no dip buying in sight, opening shorts appears to be strategic. Past flash crashes have seen V-shaped recoveries, but the bounce isn't guaranteed to flip into a full rally yet. Absolutely agree with that. Excessive greed cuts both ways. In fact, CoinGlass data revealed 620 million wiped out in the last 24 hours, with shorts taking the biggest hit. And if we go to CoinGlass, which I should be able to do actually, if I bring up CoinGlass from yesterday, you're going to see where we are. And I want to do this anyway because I think I really should probably bring up the Bitcoin chart as well while we're here, because it's unusual times. But do I think there's a V-shaped recovery? Yes. We've seen it every time something like this has happened, and I think we will. It doesn't mean it's going to happen today. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. But it will happen. It takes time. Now, wrecked in the last 24 hours, 624 million. Longs, 430. Shorts, 190. So the longs are being taken out. And that's what tends to happen when you go too soon. Now, what the Oracle was saying on Saturday night is very simple. We're going to have a bounce. We're going to get to a certain point. We're going to get a rejection, and then we're going to come back down. Now, that doesn't mean we are going to come back down to $100,000. Let's make sure, is this the right one? If I bring this up, it's going to be a white screen, isn't it? It's going to blind me with his chartiness. Maybe he's not looked at the charts. We can pray it doesn't. Oh, look at that. Thank heavens. So, we are still chopping around the same area. Okay, we're still in the bull market support band. We kind of knew this was happening when people were saying, nobody could see this coming. I think we could. I think we could see it coming, because we talked about it here, and we talked about it here, and we talked about it here. And whenever you've got a coin or a token that kind of does this, and then it starts to arch round again, that level is kind of resistance. So what you tend to do is you tend to come down, maybe sweep a higher low, and then you have another crack at it. And if you look what we've done, we were stuck here, and in the middle we had this wick up here. And I said at that time, this is too soon. I think we're going to come back down. And we did. And where did we come back down to? The bull market support band. And then we got to the mid-range, and we got rejected again. And we came back down to the bull market support band. So, when we broke up here, and I was saying to you, it's too early alt season doesn't begin now. It's too early. Maybe I'm wrong, I said. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we go early. And what happened? We came back down to the bull market support band. So was the flash crash inevitable? Maybe not to the extent it went to, but we were going to come back down because it keeps happening. And we didn't have Trump talking over here or here. We didn't have Trump talking here or... Well, actually, we did have him talking... We had him talking here. So I wouldn't think that this was necessarily unexpected. You know, people have been saying things like, no trader in the world could have spotted this move. And they're probably right. No trader in the world is going to spot that. I will give you that. No trader in the world would say that. But what I have been saying forever and a day are these two lines here. And these two lines here are the two lines that I tell you about all the time. And that is the top and the bottom of the bull market support band. Now, when we came here, look at what it was. It was at the bull market support band. Bull market support band. Bull market support band, which is just a moving average, yes. Doesn't hold up that much weight, I give you that. But neither does the CME gap, but we still use it. Now, we are slap bang at the minute in the middle of that bull market support band. What I do not want to see is that, okay? That would worry me a little bit. I would be worried. But why are we down here? What circumstances are we down here for? Well, the market, we got rejected. We didn't get rejected. We put in an all-time high and we've retraced. Fine. We've retraced back to the bull market support band, which has been accentuated by Trump's announcement, which triggered the cascading collapse, which is nothing new, because if we go back over here, and we covered this multiple times, we've had the same thing here. Okay? And that time, it wrecked us. Okay? So it's not been as bad this time, but it's been bad. So now we know why we're there. Now we know, irrespective of Trump opening his mouth or typing or not, we were always going to do something similar to this. And maybe we didn't come down to 107,000. Maybe we came down to 110 or 112. But that doesn't matter, does it? It's the move that matters. And we've got to the point now where we should bounce. Now, lots of things are going to happen today. Powell is going to speak. People are talking about him talking about the rate cut again today. People are talking about the fact that inflation could creep up or whatever it might be. But, you know, Trump's coming back from a very successful mission. And he had to deal with that. That's more important than your bags of Ethereum. It's more important than your bags of Sol, because people's lives are at stake. But now he's back. And now he is going to start talking bullishly about Z. Because what does he do? You want to make an omelette, what do? You break the eggs first. You don't put your eggs in the omelette bowl, do you, and start whisking them. You've got to break them. Well, that's what's just happened on Friday night. He timed it to be the end of the business, end of business day, which was Friday night. He timed it to be after the market, so the market wouldn't be affected. That tells you how much he thinks about the market and how much he thinks about crypto, by the way. So he timed it to perfection. And then this big conspiracy theory comes out, you know, that it's insider trading. I've covered this yesterday as well. But Bitcoin was always going to do this. Now, I think we're going to get some positive news. If you read the tweet that I put out on Friday night, I've said Wednesday, which is tomorrow, that he will say something nice. But you can't predict to the day whether it's today, tomorrow, Thursday, but Trump's going to say something nice. He already said on Sunday, oh, you know, don't worry about Z, it'll be fine. But he said that on Sunday to stop the markets from crashing. So expect some positive things, and I think we could come back up maybe towards about 117,000 again. Maybe we come back up there Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe Powell comes out and basically says, I'm a beaten man. I'm going to start cutting rates before Trump cuts me off. Maybe we have a massive wick today, but this was expected. If you watch the Oracle, this was expected. He absolutely called it. And there's no other way around that. He said where we were going to go, and we did. And he said what we were going to do, and we did. So if you want to know absolute chart directions, you follow the Oracle. He's streaming tonight at 9 p.m., which is 9.5 hours from now. He's streaming tonight. Streams on Thursday night. Streams with me on Wednesday night. Streams on Saturday night. I don't know he I don't know how he fits it all in. Now then, Tom Lee just bought 200,000 Ethereum on the dip. So while everybody was panicking, everyone was crying in the casino, Tom Lee went and bought 200,000 ETH. People play different games. People play different games. He plays the right game, which is basically dollar cost average in. He is the Michael Saylor of Ethereum. Now, where I draw the line is when he talks about Ethereum going to $60,000. Okay? I don't agree with that at all. Now, this is a big deal, by the way, because he now owns 5% of Ethereum. And we've talked before about the fact that people want to become the alpha of a chain. Michael Saylor is the individual alpha of Bitcoin. Yes, BlackRock own more, but Michael Saylor is the alpha of Bitcoin. Who is the alpha of Solana? Who is the alpha of Ethereum? That's the next play. The alpha of Ethereum is Tom Lee. If he owns 5%, somebody's going to have to go and buy 6%. The price is going to absolutely rocket up. So anybody trying to be the alpha of Ethereum is going to absolutely pump Tom Lee's bag, which is what he wants. Who is the alpha of Solana? Which individual is the alpha of Solana? I don't think we've seen one yet. We've seen companies looking to get sole treasuries, yes, but we haven't seen the face yet of that person, and there will be one. Tom Lee bought 200,000. They now have 3 million ETH on their balance sheet. That's a lot more than I've got. The liquidation of the past few days created a price decline in ETH, which BitMine took advantage of. We got 202,037 ETH tokens over the past few days, pushing our holdings over 3 million, or 2.5% of the supply of ETH. We are now more... Oh, right, okay, hang on a second. I thought... Oh, its goal is 5. Okay, right, that makes sense. The numbers didn't add up. So they're halfway towards owning 5%, but they've got 2.5%. They're still the alpha. The crypto liquidation, we talk about that. Now, again, I have no problem with Tom Lee buying 10% of Ethereum or anybody, because it's a free market. If you don't want people to own all of the Ethereum, buy it. If you don't want people to own all of the Bitcoin, buy it. Now, if you buy it and I buy it and 100 million other people buy it, then yes, we make a difference. And that's the way to think about it. Same with politicians. Watching a really good interview with the scientist from America with the tash. Can't remember his name now. And he was talking about what he thought of Trump and what he thought about American politics. And he said, forget Trump, people voted for him. Forget Biden, people voted for him. If you've got a terrible prime minister and there is not election rigging going on, you voted for him as a population. So you get what you reap what you sow. And that's the same in crypto. If these events cause you to sell your tokens, remember, Tom Lee will take all of your Ethereum at $4,000. Michael Saylor will take all of your Bitcoin at $110,000. And then ask yourself this question: why is somebody worth $72 billion willing to give me $100,000 for my Bitcoin when the market is crashing? Tom Lee isn't going to be wrong. Michael Saylor isn't going to be wrong. BlackRock isn't going to be wrong. Winklevoss brothers aren't going to be wrong. The only person wrong in this scenario is you. Now, of course, there's going to be people. There are stupid people out there that I don't agree with, and stupid in my mind, not stupid in general, who are doing things that I consider to be foolhardy and picking chains which are too small as the treasury for their company. Now, those companies are proxy companies. They don't really do anything, but they just buy the token and say, hey, look at me, I own 6% of the supply. Doesn't really make them anything spectacular, because those tokens, in my opinion, don't have the market cap to have the value to get anywhere. And the more chance of there being a market crash and them being wiped out. Imagine that you invested in a company called SUI Limited, and imagine looking at the stock price of SUI Limited on Saturday morning or Sunday morning pre-market, and then it opens. It's going to be down about 60%. Do you want to live holding stocks and shares that are that volatile? You might as well hold SUI. Crazy. Now, on to some more respectable things, and that is the CME Group, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. have launched the Solana and XRP options products regulated by the CFTC. You will remember last year and the year before, there was a little bit of a war of words between Gensler and the head of the CFTC over who controlled crypto. And I at the time said, some crypto is commodity, some crypto is stocks, shares, securities. There isn't a black and white thing here, it's a scale of grey. If you're a company that does a token sale and the proceeds of those tokens go to powering your business, and the value of your token goes up and down depending on the success of your business, what's the difference between that and stock and a share? Nothing. Your entire business is powered from the proceeds of that sale. It's a share. It should be classified, in my opinion, as a share, as a security. Now, there are others, by Bitcoin, obviously the number one example, which I'd say is a commodity. It's not really controlled by anybody. It's not got a centralized supply. There are miners around the world. It's fully decentralized as far as that's concerned. So it's not black and white. There's XRP probably is the best example of that. XRP is a security. I don't know who you're kidding if you think it's not. It's a security. Bitcoin is a commodity. So you can't apply the same rules to crypto that you do to stocks and shares because it is slightly different. You need a different version of the Howey test. Now, the CME has officially launched Solana and XRP, regulated by the CFTC. Users can now trade options on Sol, Micro, Sol and XRP, and Micro XRP futures with weekly, monthly, and quarterly expiries. The options allow physical delivery against corresponding futures and support both standard and micro contract trading. Now, the Oracle is going to be looking into options on behalf of Mimi. I think Mimi has asked him to look at it, or asked us to look at it, should I say. So we're going to go and have a look at it for her. They're very simple. They're very straightforward. You have a date, you have a price, you have a put. I think you have a sell, a put, and I don't know what the other one's called, but you have a put and you have a buy or something like that. Anyway, and basically if it gets to that price, you can exercise it or you can let it die. That's why you see options, quarterly options, monthly options. Then you get the yearly options, the ones that, that's why last Friday in December is the most volatile day for me of the year, because you've got monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Anyway, so this has gone live. This is great. It's not as important as the ETF because it's what I would call a niche product. People who are very clever make a lot of money out of stuff like this. You can also lose a lot of money in stuff like this, don't get me wrong either, but I think this isn't something for retail. That's what I would say. Now, if I said to you, do you think Bitcoin's going to be $125,000 in November, on November the 1st, you would then have an option price, a price for that option, whether it is or it isn't. And that is what you would decide. So you would buy Bitcoin at $125,000 and you would make a profit on that if it was higher. So I don't know enough about them. I have looked at them a long time ago, but we are going to look at them in more depth. So bear that in mind. Now, this is good for Solana and XRP, but as I've said, it's not as good as the news about the ETFs, which could mean that they are live by Halloween. It could mean they're live by the 26th of October. It could mean they're live in the first week of November. But they're going to be live imminently. Maybe Litecoin as well. Maybe we're going to have a day where 20 different tokens all get their ETFs. It's unlikely. I think we might get 3 or 4. But that's more, hopefully, that's more fuel on the fire. Now, BNB Chain launches a $45 million airdrop to support meme coin traders after the market crash. This follows, of course, the $263 million payout that they had over the problems with their Oracle, the problems with some of their tokens going to zero, lots of things depegged on Binance. I think Wrapped Sol depegged, Wrapped BNB depegged. There was all kinds of chaos going on. And now they've taken this second move. Now, I am never going to sit by and say, I'm not going to sit by and say that a chain is good if it does something bad. And I'm not going to sit by and say something bad about a chain that does something good, or a company. And I'm in a really odd situation in that I like 3 or 4 different exchanges. And the communities of each exchange are very cult-ish. Got to say that slowly with my accent, cult-ish. Which is why I've been saying for months, Chronos Chain is a culture, not a cult. Because I want to get us out of this cult attitude. The best example of a cult attitude is what Trump has just done. The right are declaring one of the greatest things in the last 20 years. The left, crickets, not saying a word, apart from Bill Clinton. When an exchange makes a mistake, or maybe he doesn't even make a mistake, when something happens to its clients and it takes steps to remedy it, it doesn't matter whether it's Binance or another centralized exchange. They are making an effort to rectify a problem that may or may not be their fault. If any other blockchain, I've defended, was it BitGet that had the hack and he came out, borrowed $3 billion, he was on AMAs, he was out there, he was in spaces, he was there and present. And I said that company has come out of this with more good press than bad press. And that is what I care about. If you just try in Web3 and you're present in Web3 and you make a mistake, or a mistake is made that's not your fault and it's a black swan and you try and rectify it, you should not be vilified. And I don't, there's loads of people with these stupid things. I can't believe they've done this. If you've gone to the casino and lost all of your money, do you go back the following morning and knock on the door and ask for your money back? No. So don't 25x leverage your portfolio to the hilt and lose everything. It's not on Binance. It's on you. And if you can't handle that, buy spot. That's it. I'm not going to say any more about it. So Binance are making an effort to try and resolve this issue. And they've gone above and beyond what I would have done. Obviously, if there is a fault of the DPEG and they want to cover those losses, absolutely fine. But meme coins got wrecked and they're paying out $45 million. And that might be a drop in the ocean. It might only be 10% of whatever it might be. But this is a positive thing. And if any other centralized exchange did something similar, I would defend them as well. Because it's not about everything you do is wrong and everything we do is right. Because I could throw mud at everybody. Okay? I made a video in February about Kanye West launching a token saying that it was going to go to zero, okay? But certain exchanges gobbled it up and put it live and lost you 99% of your money, okay? But I don't see people crying about that. And then when you call it out, it's FUD. It's not FUD. It should never have been listed. So don't throw mud at other people when you're caked in it, okay? Nobody in this industry is perfect. But what is acceptable is when people in the industry try their best. Trying to fix a problem that's not Binance's fault is a positive thing. Listing a token that everybody knows is going to go to zero is not, and it's irresponsible. So let's just stop bashing people because they happen to be blue and yellow, right? It doesn't get you anywhere. You look like an idiot and you look like you can't cope. So just pack it in. If you don't like a certain product, go somewhere else. If I didn't like McDonald's, I wouldn't go and sit in Burger King and start screaming, I hate McDonald's, it's crap, I hate McDonald's, I don't like the Big Mac, it's rubbish. I'd go to Burger King and eat a Burger King meal. Don't like a certain exchange, go somewhere else. If you do like a certain exchange, fine, enjoy it. But don't sit there calling the other team. You're just as bad as Jason Crow talking about ADA with Ben Cowan that I covered yesterday. You're just as bad as that. It's cult behavior and it's not going to get you anywhere. It's like people who won't buy Ethereum because they're Sol Maxes. How are you a Sol Max? Are you married to Solana? Did you walk up the aisle with Anatoly? Did you put a ring on his finger? No. Hold Ethereum, hold Solana, hold ADA, hold BNB. The aim of this game is to make you as much money as humanly possible with the least amount of risk. And that is not going to work if you only buy one token. Nobody in the history of stock market trading would ever sensibly advise you to be 100% all in on one stock. Ever. And I know Michael Saylor says if it's not Bitcoin, it's dead. Buy Bitcoin, don't buy anything else. But of course he's going to say that. Tom Lee's going to say the same thing about Ethereum. It's why you have to listen to different people. It's why you have to listen to people you don't agree with, which is what I do on my TikTok rants that I have from time to time. Now, got some questions in chat before we move on. I don't want to get too wrapped up in bashing people. Villain Bear, I've answered that. Good morning, Simon. Wolfie Wednesday, which I will bring up on the screen. Wolfie Wednesday is a quiz. Wolfies have taken over the quiz night, and they will be... We've got 25 questions about Wolfies. That took me 4 hours yesterday to think of 25 questions because I didn't want to think of questions which were too easy. I'm not going to say, what is a Wolfie? It's an NFT. Okay. I was trying to think of good questions. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m. is Wolfies. We've got $100 in prizes to give away. That's going to be on Binance Square, and it's going to be in the other place as well. And we're going to divide the two. We're going to take user IDs from Binance Square, and we're going to pick 5 or 6 winners there. And then we're going to do the Crypto Warehouse Wheel of Fortune, and we're going to do the top 3 winning prizes on the other place. So that's that. Wolf Quiz Night. Have you played Wolf Swap quiz in the past? Yeah, Simon didn't do too well in the quiz that he turned up to. But to be fair, I think kids were screaming in the background or something. Did I get many Wolfies? I think I've got 8. But I've got a Pepe hoodie, I've got a paper bag, and I've got a Loaded Line hoodie. So I've got 3 fairly rares. People keep making offers on them. Villain Bear got 1 Wolfie and then sold it. I think he sold it for, what, about 500 crow, 600 crow, which is not a bad return. The alpha of Ethereum, Vitalik, he's not, though, is he? He's not the alpha of Ethereum. He is the head of the Ethereum Foundation, but I wouldn't say he was the alpha. The same way I wouldn't say Anatoly was the alpha of Solana. We're talking about a TradFi company who are creating an Ethereum treasury or a Solana treasury, who are doing it to become proxy holders of that token. So Strategy's share price basically goes up and down extremely volatilely, but goes up and down with the price of Bitcoin. Tom Lee's Bitmain or Bitwise, whatever they're called, will do the same thing. And then somebody will do that for Solana. So that's what I mean by that. Good morning, Solo Sky. And again, you can call them out. Yes, I totally agree with it. If somebody did something wrong, I'd call them out. Absolutely. 100% agree. If somebody says something which I don't agree with, and I've said this about CZ in the past, he's done some things I don't like. And in fact, I was talking about this on Friday, was it? I think. And CZ was talking about something. And CZ said, I'm only posting my thoughts on here. That's what he said, I think. And I said that was wrong, because the social contract was what we were talking about. Social contract is, I don't try and shill you pump and dumps. I don't try and get you to buy stuff that's garbage. I try and give you my honest opinion. That's the social contract I have. And then your social contract is to agree, disagree, engage, follow, support, whatever it might be. It's a social contract. It doesn't exist, except it exists. That's the best way I can put it. It doesn't exist, but it exists. And my job, and I might get it all wrong, is to try and guide you through things that happened on Friday night. So on Saturday morning, when we got 900,000 views on Binance Square, my job was to tell you that you were going to be okay. Because you are going to be okay. Because it's happened in the past and it'll keep happening. Your job is to believe me, to a certain extent. And that's a social contract. Now, CZ has a social contract with you. You trust him. Of all the people in crypto, if I had to pick 5 people I would trust, Cathie Wood would be up there, yes. Charles Hoskinson would be up there, with a tinge of Ada, yeah, but he'd be up there. So Charles, Cathie Wood, CZ would be up there. In fact, people whose names begin with C are in my top 5. So CZ would be in there. Now, if CZ turns around and says Astra is going to become the biggest DEX in the world, the price of Astra would go up 100%. If CZ comes out and says, I'm going to make my own meme coin and I'm going to call it CZ, not only will his meme coin go to $100 million, but there'll be 5,000 other copycats. So he can't say that it's just his thoughts. He can't say that because it's wrong. He has a responsibility to think about what he tweets, and I will call him out. But I will also defend Binance when they do good things. And it has to be as a neutral, I would say. You have to look at it in the cold light of day. Otherwise, what's the point? If another exchange listed 25 consecutive rug pulls, you can't honestly sit there and defend them. Not if you've got people like me saying it's going to go to zero, it's going to go to zero, oh, it's gone to zero, oh, it's gone to zero. Don't list that coin, oh, it's already gone to zero. We've got thorough investigations into teams. We make sure everything is above board, and then it's down 90% within 5 hours. Rubbish. Nearly swore then. Rubbish. 3 altcoins turned the market crash into a comeback with massive buybacks. Is this the buyback article that we've got? Yes. Now, we're going to run out of time, so we're going to skip the Crypto Champ article and go to the Black Swan, because I really want to talk about that. These projects, blockchain projects, World Liberty Financial, Aster and Sonic Labs have launched token buybacks after Trump's tariff shock. These buybacks, totaling 16 million, aim to reduce the supply and restore investor confidence through burns and treasury absorption. The coordinated actions marked a broader industry effort to rebuild sentiment and signal long-term commitments amid ongoing market volatility. Now, this isn't so much about those 3 tokens, but I want to explain why I like this. I talk a lot on here about you should look at projects. And if you look at a project and you don't understand how it makes money, that's a really bad sign, okay? Blockchains make fees on every transaction. DEXs make fees on every transaction. What else is there? Aave, Camino Finance, DeFi tools where you invest in liquidity pools. You might get 9% on that, they'll take 1%. It's easy to see how they make money. If somebody comes to you with Gloopoids. What's Gloopoids? It's a collection. It's a collective. And what does it do? It goes to the moon. Buy our token. Fantastic. What a great idea. How many tokens are there? 11 trillion tokens, and we've only got about 10, 11 trillion of those tokens. You'll get one of them. Fantastic. I'll go and buy that. How does it make money? Doesn't make money. We're for the culture. How many times have you seen those tokens appear and go to zero? Thousands of them do. Thousands, and people buy them. It's like falling over in the playground, as I said before. Scratch your knee, you get up, you go and buy another crap token, right? So, how does World Liberty Finance make money? It makes it through its stablecoin. Generates revenue. How does Aster make money? It makes money through transactions on Aster. How does Sonic Labs make money? It's a blockchain. It makes money off transactions. They all make money. Now, the key here is, what do you do with that money? And this trend of buybacks, Dupe do buybacks, Maple Finance do buybacks. I like it, but in some instances I don't like it. Okay? So if you're making a revenue of $1 million a month and your token value is $1 billion, then doing $200,000 worth of buybacks a month is an absolute waste of time, in my humble opinion. If you are World Liberty Financial and you are making $1 billion a year from your stablecoin, and that $1 billion a year is going to buy back tokens from a project that's got a market cap of $8 billion, it's going to have a dent. Same with Pump.Fun, it's going to have a dent. Same with Dupe, it's going to have a dent. So there is a point where you need to buy back in sufficient tokens to create buy pressure. And I think this is a good looking idea moving forward for a lot of different projects that make a lot of money. WolfSwap is another perfect example. They use 50% of their fees to buy back their own token. So it's constant buy pressure on their token. Now, the flywheel is very simple. The more people who trade, the more fees, the more fees, the more buybacks. Beautiful flywheel. Same with World Liberty Financial, same with Sonic, same with Aster, same with Pump, and many, many others. So, I like this idea. So when you see things like this, projects are going to introduce buybacks, you should look at how much are you going to be buying back. what's the market cap of your project and what's the amount you're going to buy back. Because like I said, if it's a $500 million project and they're buying back $1,000 a day, it's not going to make a dent. Okay, it's like throwing a penny into the Grand Canyon. So keep an eye on these big projects that are going to do buybacks, because over time, those buybacks, look at Binance, look at the BNB, buyback and burn. They're burning hundreds of millions, and the token supply is shrinking, and the token value is going up. But then you look at something like the Kronos chain, which has 10 billion tokens. It had, 100 billion tokens. It had 30 billion, and then they just magic 70 billion out of thin air. And they're buying back and burning 50 million tokens every quarter. What difference is that going to make? Give it to the builders. Give it to the teams building on the Kronos chain. That's a better use of that money, because what you're doing is an utter waste of time. Whereas that amount of cash, what's 50 million crow? $10 million a quarter? $10 million a quarter going to build the ecosystem is way more important than burning it. It isn't going to make a dent. So, glass houses, stones, all that kind of stuff, we can say whatever we want about exchanges, but each of them is flawed. And as soon as you appreciate that, the better. Last thing then, and this is the black swan, which you want to talk about. 11:55. We've actually got some time to talk about this, so I'm going to run you through this article and then I'm going to bring it up. Taiwan's chip makers unbothered by China's latest rare earth curbs. Taiwan's economy ministry said China's new rare earth restrictions target elements that are not essential to semiconductor manufacturing. Taiwan sources most rare earth products from the US, Europe and Japan, limiting its dependency on China. China's restrictions may disrupt global supply chains for electric vehicles and drones. Now, we're going to come off this because this is the black swan. So, I've been talking to you in the past about what I think the next big black swan will be, and I think it's to do with Taiwan. Fine, that's more of a conflict type of black swan. You see the guy, the Big Short guy, he thinks that the next big black swan is going to be water, which is what he said. Water is going to become the scarcest commodity on Earth. I think 3% of the world's water is pure. Okay, well, you can get around that by building as many desalination plants as you want. If you look at Gibraltar. Gibraltar has a population of 36,000 people. Its desalination plant can create water for something like 150 to 200,000 people. So, you can build them. They take time, but you can build them. For me, the next black swan is going to be China's rare earths. The Chagos Islands are currently looking at being handed back from the UK government back to Chagos. They're giving them $36 billion, or something, £36 billion, something absolutely ridiculous. And what's miraculous about all of this is China has paid and helped Chagos to fight this in a court. But not only that, they've discovered massive amounts of raw minerals under and around the Chagos Islands. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, that they would find this after the deal with the UK had been signed. So if China controls or tries to control the majority of the world's rare earth metals, that gets turned off and we are going to see a meltdown, because without those rare earth metals we are not going to be able to make computers or drones or AI or mobile phones, computers or anything else like that. If there is a conflict, China doesn't have to sell you anything it wants to, and then you're in an impasse. So if you look at what's happening in Eastern Europe, if you look at what's happening in Europe and around the world, there are big players, America especially, looking for sources of rare earth metals. So if you want to know the next absolutely massive black swan, it's rare earth metals. Now, this has always been on the cards, by the way. It's not something that's brand new. It's been talked about for a while, but I think it's going to come to a head, and especially during the next 3 weeks with Trump and Xi. Now, if I was Trump, I would go to Xi and I would come up with a deal about rare earth metals. Rare earth metals, and we will give you a really good tariff. That is all I would care about if I was Trump. Everything else is irrelevant. Get the rare earth metals, okay? Maybe take the rare earth metals and maybe don't go and do anything bad with Taiwan. So that's the next thing for me. And it's going to shock the market. And it's going to shock crypto. Crypto doesn't live in a bubble. It lives in the market. That Trump announcement of tariffs with Xi and China should not have affected Bitcoin to the tune of 10%, whatever it was. But of course it does, because everything's intertwined. So when something like this happens, or when there's the next event, which there will be, there's always going to be events. One ends, another one begins. It's how the cycle of this planet is. Expect that to be the big one, rare earth metals. And maybe buy or look at buying shares in non-Chinese rare earth metals. There is a UK listed company. I'm not going to tell you the name of it, but have a look at that. Because if we can find rare earth metals and remove dependence on China, everything is a good one. So that's what I'm going to say. Now, I'm going to finish with the Wolfies quiz, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central European Time, which I think is 5 p.m. UTC. 25 questions, $100 in prizes, split between Binance Square and somewhere else. And we're going to do the quiz. We're going to talk a little bit about Wolfies as well to give you a bit of a heads up. So we'll do a little bit of a training guide on Wolfies, and then we're going to ask you the questions. And I don't think anybody is going to get 25 out of 25. I don't believe that for 1 second, because some of those questions you're not going to know. Villain Bear isn't going to know every question. Hidden Agendas, I think, is in chat today. He's not going to know any questions. I don't think, who else? Danny, they're not going to know every question. So bear that in mind. And I'm not going to talk too much longer because I overran yesterday. I've got the video of In the Trenches to edit. We're probably going to premiere that on Binance Square and somewhere else as well. And then the Oracle is back tonight. The Oracle is back in 9 hours from now. He is going to talk you through the charts. If you want to know where Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP are going to go, you watch the stream at 9 p.m. 9 hours from now. Screen time there is 12:01. So it's in 9 hours from now. Go watch the Oracle tonight. And I will see you all tomorrow night, because we don't stream on Wednesday mornings when we stream on Wednesday night. So I'm going to see you tomorrow night with the Wolfies quiz. And I cannot wait to watch your faces when you get some of these questions. Take care. Have a great Tuesday.